Their meeting, the Detroit Lake City Council is called to order. At this time, I'd like to invite all of you to please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the regular agenda needs to be approved by the City Council, but I think we have a couple of additions. Aaron, you've got a couple, right?
Yeah, I got 9J, which is a special event liquor application for Lakeshores and Homes Theater. And then I also have 9K, where Becky Mitchell is here with the museum.
Okay. Any other additions to the regular agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda with those two items added.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the regular agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council. All items with an asterisk will be considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to change or add or remove any items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The minutes of the regular City Council meeting held August 8th, 2023 are before the council. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council who wishes to either add or remove any items from the minutes or make any corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as printed for the August 8th, 2023 regular City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held August 8th, 2023. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Without objection, I would like to move a couple things around here. First of all, can we go to the Finance Committee, Ron, with item 8B, please?
That's fine.
I'm sorry, Dan.
That's fine. IP or 7B.
Public safety, I'm sorry. 8B.
8B, okay.
I'm starting off on the wrong foot here, aren't I?
Okay, this is consideration to approving a noise variance for Mark Payne at 902 White Clover Beach Road on September 16th, 2023 from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. The committee reviewed this and recommend that we go ahead and approve this noise variance. I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yep. Motion's been made and seconded to approve a noise variance for Mark Payne at 902 White Clover Beach Road on September 16th from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to that issue this evening? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Without objection, I'd like to go now to Dan for the finance items 7A and 7B, Dan.
All right, item 7A is a presentation from A Place to Belong. They were here at the Finance Committee meeting. Do you want to come up forward and kind of give a quick overview of what you're asking the city?
Well, I guess we just wanted to take this time. So I'm Paige Carlson. I'm being So I'm Paige Carlson, the Executive Director for A Place to Belong. Kayla Fagery, she's the Director here in Detroit Lakes, but she is having some throat things going on today, so she asked me to get up here and speak. But we just wanted to take this time to tell you a little bit about us, who we are, what we do. So A Place to Belong, we've been open for 26 years. We were the very first social club in the state of Minnesota, first starting in Fergus Falls, and then now we've been in the DL community for 12 years. And what we do is we help folks who are diagnosed with a serious and persistent mental illness with socialization and coming together. So many of us, we all have mental health, right? We all have brains, so we all have to take care of our mental health. But 1 in 4 of us are actually diagnosed with a mental illness. And part of that, we go to the doctor, take our medications, we do what we need to do, but with being social beings, we need to socialize and be around others. So A Place to Belong does that for people. We provide that safe, comfortable place for folks to come in and socialize. We have activities throughout the day, education activities. We have members who are key-holding members that can keep us open in the evenings and weekends. We help people with volunteer opportunities so that they can potentially work their way up into, getting a job. Or many of our members do have jobs. So we're a really unique place as we help people in their recovery with their mental health. And currently, I'm not sure if any of you really know where we're located. Even though we've been here 12 years, you may not know where we're located, but we are downtown in the Greystone building. At this point, we have outgrown our space, and we've started to realize that we need to start looking for a space that's a little bit bigger, and what we've identified is maybe a space that's in our community a little bit more, so that we can help provide that education to community members on what we do and how we are helping folks who are diagnosed with mental illness. And then also bring those connections for those community members to socialize with folks that have that diagnosis and learn more about it, so we can really understand what it's like. And as far as financial, I just found a number that was, it's $1,300 on average per day for a psychiatric stay in the hospital. So if somebody is needing a hospital level of care, it's about $1,300 a day for them to have treatment. So it's very beneficial for all of us to help people stay in the community, maintain their recovery, and just live their best life that they want to. So thank you for taking this time to let me share about what we do, and just that we've really are starting to outgrow our space, and we would really love the city's support in helping us get a space that would work better.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Did we want to mention the space they were discussing today, Dan?
Sure, yeah, I guess one of the reasons why they came to us today was because they want to start a conversation with pursuing a different location. They're currently in the Greystone building, and they've kind of approached the city on potentially moving into the old police department where the city admin offices are currently, and it's just part of the process. We aren't planning on vacating that for another 6 to 8 months potentially, and it's just started that process on how that could look and what we can partner with a nonprofit and maybe a place to work. That's kind of where this is at.
So more to come.
More to come.
I was going to say one thing. I visited their location. They're kind of hidden up there. They're on the second floor of the Greystone. They're in a hidden spot. But one thing they'd like to do is make plans for a new location, so we could tell them this fall that they could have that spot as soon as we moved out. They could make preparations for that. But they need a place that's easier to get into. They help a lot of people. The day I was up there, it was packed to people needing help and social service and so forth. So it's a good group, and they need better visibility in this. And our old police department would certainly give it to them.
Okay, thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Dan.
Item 7B is a presentation by Peter Jacobson on the budget and rates for the coming season.
All right, thanks for having me.
Peter, is that mic on?
Press the button. Oh, there you
Is
go.
it on now? Thank you.
Yep, if it's green, it's on.
It is on. Thanks for having me. Good to be here to talk a little bit about our budget and rates, which you ultimately approved. Before doing that, I wanted to just spend a little bit more time talking about who we are. There you go. Thank you. Who we are at the VLCCC, what we do, and some of the benefits we provide and some of the challenges we have. And I want to start with our mission statement, which is to create quality opportunities for people to learn, to grow, and to play, physically, culturally, and socially for all people in Detroit Lakes, in the Detroit Lakes area. And I bring that out because I would say that's a very unique mission statement, and we're a unique place to be able to do that. There are very few community centers that combine recreational and physical activity with the level of social and cultural opportunities that are provided at a community center. It's even a greater strength, and I'm even more excited about our mission as we partner with the Becker County Museum in that shared lobby and shared space for the opportunities that we can do going forward. So whoever was involved in creating that mission statement 20 plus years ago did a fabulous job. Second thing I want to comment on is the team that we have. I am immensely proud of the staff that we have. We have about 120 employees, mostly part-time, but about 120 employees who help to carry out that mission every day. And that is why they work there. It is because they are really committed to helping people fulfill that mission. Not only employees, but volunteers. And then we're fortunate to have some fabulous members who are also very committed to the mission that we provide. I am very, very confident that the services that we provide help to make Detroit Lakes a great place to live, a great place to visit, and I know firsthand people that have chosen either to relocate here or stay here because of the services that we are providing. So some of our accomplishments this last year, COVID was a rather challenging time in the fitness world. A couple of years ago we had lost 47% of our members because of being shut down and because of some restrictions. We made a strong comeback. This last year we saw about an 8% increase in our memberships from 2021-22 to this past year. So we saw some positive growth. We are still ranging between 1% and 5% less members than we had prior to COVID. That we've got some seasonality. We currently have about 1,140 membership contracts serving upwards of 3,000 people. And that peaked out in March. We were at a little over 1,250, and we're just beginning our October membership drive this next month. So if any of you are not members and looking for a great place to learn, grow, and play, come visit us. We had 116,000 check-ins last year. That was up about 15% from the previous year. Our day pass users continues to grow. We're up about 3%. Our silver group members, those are folks that have Medicare Advantage health plan membership benefits. We have about just under 770 silver group members, and that has grown consistently. We're actually higher than we were prior to COVID for that. Youth and adult and fitness aquatic programs up considerably. There was some pent-up demand during COVID, so that helped quite a bit. Our theater tickets were up this last year, and our audiences have really returned to what I would say are pre-levels. We have a lot. We're just launching our season for this coming year with a show, Water Street Dance, on Thursday night, and a lot of the familiar things are coming back to the theater this year, and some new things with a greater emphasis on getting local people on our stage. We had a fabulous children's musical this summer, more than 65 kids participating in that. That's a tradition that's continued to grow. And this spring we will be offering homespun theater. So if you are familiar with that, it's helping to tell the story of Detroit Lakes. So we will be looking for some cast members, and try not to make eye contact because I will sign you up. No, we're excited about that. Another significant accomplishment is what we've been able to do to our facility and invest in our facility. We've just, over the past 2 years, invested about just under $1.5 million in facility improvements. And that starts with our ballroom, which was renovated thanks to some significant donations. It also come along with improving our guest experience by creating a nice lounge area for that. This past summer, we replaced all of our balcony seating. We put in a new screen in the theater, a 30-foot wide screen. So it was great fun over the summer to see kids from our summer day camp come into the theater and watch a movie. We have our Engage group is going to be watching a film in there on next week, right after the presentation. So there's great opportunities that come with that. We replaced the liner in our pool and helped to preserve and improve that asset. As we speak, we're in the midst of renovating the third of 3 locker rooms. So we got the first 2 done this last year, and our men's locker room will be done by the end of October. So those are just some of the improvements that we've been able to make, and that all came from donations from private individuals, from businesses in our communities and some grants that we've written. We're also tremendously grateful for all of you in the city for the support that you provided with some of our maintenance capital, but also the renovations to our parking lot, and now what's happening with the street. So that's going to make access to our building much better. Operating support is a significant challenge for us and also a great strength. So we're fortunate to have Friends of the Theater, center sustainers, our business sponsors for this theater, as well as the youth, and they make a lot of things happen. One, we honestly would not have a theater without our sponsors, because ticket sales basically cover artist fees predominantly, and so all of the infrastructure of the theater really needs to be covered through grants, and we're very grateful for the support of donors for that. Our donors also helped us continue to provide scholarships, so we take great pride in making our facility accessible. Our donors funded more than $25,000 in scholarships that were provided to individuals with financial hardship last year. Last thing I want to comment on is a significant accomplishment is our Engage program. And I know that part of the city's contribution to us to the senior center helps to fund our Engage program. We now have between 300 and 400 Engage members that are participating in very active activities. Over the last 4 years, they've really transformed from doing primarily sedentary things to really a whole new group of people that are biking and hiking and taking part in cultural activities and social activities and really changing the quality of life. I get calls frequently from other communities that are interested in what are you doing in Detroit Lakes, because we have a fabulous Engage program and fabulous staff helping to run that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about challenges. One is growing capital needs. So the newer part of our building is 22 years old. And when a building gets 22 years old, things start to wear out and things start to need to be replaced. One of those items is our roof, which we've had discussion about the need for that roof to be replaced in stages over the next few years. On top of that, we have additional items, including our field house floor, theater lighting, some infrastructure in our pool. So there's a growing number of capital needs. And the operating model that we have at the community center provides revenue to support most of our day-to-day operations, but unfortunately it doesn't provide the capital that's needed for funding depreciation and doing capital improvements and capital replacement. And so we have relied on fundraising and grants and support from the city for some of those items. I will say, in some of the research that I've done, I think the model that we have in Detroit Lakes is a fabulous model. The public-private partnership between the city and the city of Detroit Lakes and DLCCC. As I've looked at other community centers across the state, they are typically cities are much more involved in funding all of the capital and larger portions of operations. So I believe that we're able to provide a great value for our members to continue to provide great and innovative services and do it in a way that's as affordable as possible. The other challenge that we have actually was an opportunity, but during COVID we received great support, government support, as well as support from our businesses for multiple years. This last year we had over $420,000 of money that came through our budget from ERC credits from the government, as well as support from the public utilities and some local businesses. And that helped sustain us through that time, but those dollars are primarily gone going into next year. So that's a challenge going forward. The budget that was submitted earlier, it's meant to be both realistic but yet conservative. We budgeted our memberships to be basically flat. I'm optimistic we can get some growth, but I don't like to budget for things that I'm necessarily optimistic about, but things that I believe we can achieve. We budgeted for our membership rates to stay the same. We did an increase a year ago, and this year, on advice from Merit 19, we made the decision to keep them at the same rate. I've also done some benchmarking with neighboring communities who have community centers or who have YMCA's, and what I'm finding is that our rates are a little bit lower than some of the facilities in the Fargo-Moorhead area, and generally higher than some of the other facilities in greater Minnesota. It's a bit of an art, but to figure out what's the right balance so that we generate more revenue, but also want to retain as many members as we can and attract new members going in. We budgeted for some small increases in our silver group, day passes, our sponsorship and fundraising. We're maintaining all of the revenue. We just completed our campaign and have retained all of our sponsors, so that's been built into our budget. We've also budgeted for some growth in event revenue, although relatively small. We're seeing more and more nonprofits use our ballroom. Our ballroom is completely booked up on weekends in the month of October, so we hope to see continued growth there. Our salaries, we budgeted for an overall increase in salary expenses of about 1.3%, a rate increase on average of about 2.5%. Our building maintenance has gone up in recent years. We're budgeting it flat, but as the building gets older, we're also seeing we've seen over the last few years significant increases in building maintenance. Ultimately that leads to an operating income. We're budgeting about $45,000 next year, which is slightly better. This year we had an operating income of about $23,000. And then our net income, when you add in depreciation and other expenses, net income of minus $45,000. That is quite a bit lower than this year because of the COVID support that we're not going to be receiving going forward. We also budgeted for about $343,000 in capital expenditures to help to take care of both some of the things that have to be done as well as to continue to upgrade equipment and amenities to keep our members and keep the facility growing. I'll stop there and try to entertain any comments or questions you have for me.
Any questions from the council?
I've got some comments and.
Ron, before we get into
Okay.
those, could I get a motion on the second on the table?
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so the action item here with this is to consider the approving of the DLCCC budget and rates for 2024. Finance Committee reviewed this and recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the DLCC budget rates for 2024. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, during our budget year here in August, all of August, we looked at our budget for next year. And one of the things that kind of surprised me is that we're recommending writing off $560,000 from the loan that the DLCC took out 20 years ago. Now that's a large amount of money, but one of the things that strikes me as you're speaking here is that our membership rates, you say are doing good, but yet our membership dues, you're keeping that flat. And with the cost of everything going up, we just about have to have some increases to pay for some of these expenses. Ever since, since I've been on the council, the last 19 years, we've been paying out $50,000 a year in annual payments. This money's coming from the electric fund, and this is to pay off that $1.1 million loan that was taken out but was never fulfilled. At the end of 2023, that loan has a principal balance of $560,000. In addition to the $50,000 payment that we've been given by the Public Utility Commission, they've also have given you $100,000 the last 3 years because of the pandemic. One of the proposals that has helped the DLCC is to forgive that $560,000, like I said, and I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers of Detroit Lakes to have that loan forgiven, because there's a lot of people that would like to see that maybe go to help the electrical rates go down. The $50,000 city level then will be redirected, that we were paid for that loan, now go to the theater grants. And again, we keep spending money and we're trying to be self-sustaining. In addition to the liquor fund, the liquor fund has been given $89,393. We're now going to increase that by $60,000 to $150,000. There's many groups in town that would like to have additional help from the liquor fund and the utilities, but they're not getting it because there's only so much money to go around. After 20 years of operation at the DLCC, it is time to fix the financial problems that we've had at the DLCC. For 19 years, I've sat here at this council table and have had the DLCC come, and never once have they said, we don't need help. If there is help, I look at the mountain, I look at the golf course, we have never given them help. The one year when the golf course had a 100th anniversary, we gave them money for their golf carts. The DL Country Club, the DLCC, the Detroit Lakes Country Club, and the Mountain are all supposed to be self-sustaining, meaning that they operate on the financial numbers that they bring in and receive from dues fees and donations. The golf course and the mountain have fulfilled this. The DLCC hasn't. Every year the DLCC expects help from the electric utilities. It's become such a habit now that it's automatic that if we need help, we just call up to the LCC or the liquor store. I just feel we can't continue, and I can't really support reducing this $560,000 unless we have a condition that the city council sits down with your board of directors and try to figure out a way that we can make that place operate without having to come to the public utilities of the liquor store here to balance. And I think there's a way we can do it. A couple of years ago, the Detroit Lakes Country Club was having problems. Brought in outside people, looked at things, looked it over, and next thing you know, in a couple of years, we got things turned around. They're making more money now than they ever have. And I appreciate all the work that everybody's doing, but we just keep continuing, end up having to ask for more and more money, and we see how great we're doing. If we're doing so great, then we should be able to pay the bills, and we're not doing that. And I haven't even talked about the new roof we need over there for $735,000 in the next few years. And we just can't continue doing business the way we have. Like I said, I'm not in favor of writing this money off unless we can make an agreement that we get down and sit together and try to figure out. I also want you to know that we have other areas of needs here in Detroit Lakes. Don't forget the police department. They like to have new officers. The fire department needs new needs. We're looking at a Washington ballpark. We're also planning for a pavilion overhaul. We have to look at our parks and trails and of course our streets. So there's lots of ways to spend money, but I would just like to have the council and your group sit down and try to see what we can do so we can get the DLCC in the black instead of the red every year.
Are there further questions or comments?
Can I make one?
Sean, go ahead.
I'll turn this on so you can maybe hear me. I don't know if the little mics work. I got the short mic today. Peter, you mentioned that, this is a public-private partnership, and I think that speaks a lot to me about what would the city's responsibility and expenses and things be if we were running it entirely. There's a lot that goes into a facility like this and running an operation like this. And I've been pretty vocal about the fact that I think things that we do ought to pay for themselves in a lot of ways. And at the same time, I think we have to remember too, what does this bring to our community? What benefit and value does this bring to our community? And we have to remember that these are city facilities. Like, we own the building. We got to take care of it, right? And speaking to Ron's point, like, there's a part of me that says, hey, it would be great. I think the DLCCC needs to probably fund its own operations, and there needs to be a plan to get to the state that the operational day-to-day, which it sounds like we maybe are pretty close to that, if we're not there, is funded, and then the city's taking care of its facilities. Things like a roof, because if that roof goes, what happens to the facility? The value of the facility is gone. And I think we also have to be careful about how deep we get into trying to manage the operations of the DLCCC. I'm all for setting expectations, such as let's sit down as a council and decide what do we expect, how do we expect them to perform financially, and then it's their job to go figure out how to meet that expectation. And I think that's the role that we need to play. We need to be careful that we as a council don't get into trying to run the facility on their behalf.
That's the last thing I'm going to do is run their. It's just like I said, what happened at the golf course a couple of years ago. And 20 years ago when we did this, part of their mission was to take care of their whole building too, everything. The maintenance, the building, the whole works is supposed to be self-sustaining on everything. And we've just weakened and weakened and weakened. And I look at the DL Country Club out there, they've got a building. They took care of all their own needs, they paid for themselves, same thing with the mountain. We have to get this expenditure under control, because in the last 20 years, it's just gotten deeper and deeper in it. So if we can just sit down, I'm just saying, sit down, see what we can do, see if we can have some people come in and take a look, just like the golf course did, and see what we can do to turn this thing around. I don't want to manage it, I don't want the city management, but I also don't want to have the taxpayers. Here we are right now, $560,000. There's a lot of people don't even use that facility and say, well, Unity Crickets, maybe I'd like to have my electric rates go down, or whatever it may be. So I'm just saying, can we at least sit together when we're looking at this and make that part of the condition? We're gonna okay this budget and okay our budget for next year for the city.
Okay, Ron. So were you done, Sean?
I have just one last piece, if I may, is as we consider it, we're gonna get to a stage, the contract is gonna have to be renegotiated, we're gonna talk through those things. So I would say let's talk about what expectations do we have for the DLCCC and what should we set as part of that contract, so when we come to that date, we're firm on what how we expect the facility to perform financially.
And I think all that's very fair. My only encouragement to you as you do that would be to do some benchmarking with other cities that operate community centers and compare us to other community centers across the state. Look for best practices in those. I prefer that we didn't get compared to ski or the DMRA or the golf course, but rather to other community centers across the state. My research that I've done shows in most cases where it's an enterprise fund of the city, that the city ends up funding all of the capital and a fairly substantial amount of operations. So that's part of why I think we have a nice model here, because it allows some freedom to explore opportunities and innovate and provide the best services we can. It also engages the public more in terms of the amount of financial support and ownership that the community has here relative to some other cities. But again, I don't want you to take my word for that. I would encourage you to go out, do the research, find out what you see from other community centers, and then hold us to the highest standard of those other locations.
Can I make one? I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
I'll be really quick. I did research on these kind of places, and they don't make money. It's something the cities bring in to attract more people. They're probably not going to be profitable. Okay, so I'm not expecting you guys to make a profit. And then Peter has reached out to me. I'm going to go over there in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go see the day-to-day operations, because people don't know what we all do on our individual jobs on a daily basis. I would encourage everybody to go over there, meet with Peter, go see what's going on over there, and see what it's doing for the community, because it's going to come at a cost. The problem is our well is kind of getting dry.
I get that as well.
Okay? So, thank you.
Well, we can certainly discuss a lot of these concepts in more detail, but this evening, we've got a motion and a second on the table to approve the budget and rates for 2024. Unless there's additional comments, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Without we don't have to wait till 6:01 to do our, all right, so without objection, Dan, can we go into the preliminary budget tax levy?
All right, so that's item 7C.
Right.
That's consideration.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. That's discussion on, and actually it can be action on setting a preliminary budget. We spent the month of August, several budget meetings in the mornings, really going through, really digging into our budget, analyzing all the requests that we got from different departments. And I guess I'll turn over to Heidi to kind of give us a roundup of what we came up with.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this evening, what you're tasked with is considering the resolution to approve and establish the preliminary budget and tax levy for collection in next year, and then also designating December 12th at 6:01 p.m. as our official meeting for public comment on our final budget and tax levy. So this is the preliminary budget and levy. It must be established by September 30th, so tonight's the night, unless you want to have a special meeting. And so I just wanted to go over real quick what, kind of a few different things that affected and went into the discussions that we had. We talked about a lot of different things. And basically where we ended up was at an 11.22% preliminary levy increase. Now, this is an amount that can always come down by the time we go to our final levy, but it cannot be increased. And that's per Minnesota state statute. Factors affecting this, we added some additional funding for street maintenance, for some street rehabilitation projects that we'll have planned over the next couple of years. There is one new police officer that's planned in this budget. We have included some additional funding for park equipment and potential future replacement of park equipment into the future. Not quite sure when exactly that'll happen, but it's just a little bit of something to kind of get that ball rolling. There are a few different things that are funded in here with the DLCCC. With their request, we are funding replacement of their roof through some capital contributions, through loan forgiveness from the Public Utilities Commission, and then through some additional funding from the Liquor Fund. And then also other items affecting the budget and levy this year are some additional existing debt. We had to increase the levy for that to pay back additional existing debt that we have, including our new public works facility that is being constructed right now. And then also had a few different personnel type changes. So added, again, a new police officer in the budget, added a new economic development director position. This is something that isn't a full position that's included in the budget. It's utilizing an existing staff member, but then splitting that position. It's being paid partially through Public Utilities Commission and then part through a levy through the Development Authority. And that's kind of on a trial basis for 2024, and then going forward, we'll kind of reassess how that works next year. And then also some kind of realignment of and readjusting of the city clerk position, turning that into an HR director position. The way the city has kind of grown over the past several years, it's become pretty apparent that that position is really needed, and really defining those duties, and then turning the deputy clerk position into a city clerk position to really sort of memorialize what those duties are. So that kind of gives you an idea, a flavor of all the major changes that are in this 2024 budget. If we look at the property tax or the property valuation side of things, my preliminary numbers from Becker County are showing that overall in the city we have about a 14.5% valuation increase. And what that ends up doing is lowers our tax rate. So if our levy increase is 11.22%, and our property valuation increases more than that, our tax rate ends up coming down. So in 2023, our tax rate is 40.342%. I'm projecting next year with this preliminary budget and levy, that would come down to 39.149%. And what that means in actual dollars for folks is if your home is valued at $300,000 and you had no increase in your property valuation from last year to this year, you would see an actual decrease in your city portion of your property tax bill of about $34.57. Now, not many people's valuation stays exactly the same from year to year. So if your valuation increased, say 5% on that $300,000 home, so went from $300,000 to $315,000, your city portion of your tax bill would go up $29.24 for the year, next year. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what that would look like. Again, overall in the city, valuations increased about 14.5%. So I did look at some ranges of valuation increase, and I do have that some handouts for you for the council ahead at the dais there for you. One with the median value home, which is currently, per the US Census, at $208,600, one at $300,000, and then one at $500,000, just to kind of give you a flavor of what some of those increases might look like for folks. I would be happy to stand for any questions. Otherwise, in December, at the December 12th meeting, I would do a more robust presentation about our final budget and levy, and then again, that's the date where we would accept public comment on that as well.
Okay, I would open it up to the public. If there's anyone here this evening that has a question or a comment, you could certainly have the podium. Anyone? Any comments or questions from the council?
I guess I've got a couple comments. Go ahead. I guess being chair of the finance committee, I'd like to thank everybody. Thank the staff for putting together the numbers and then revising them after each meeting, so everybody had the opportunity to weigh in. I'd like to thank the council members for weighing in, and we had some robust discussion at the meetings. Sometimes it was a little bit boisterous, but I think it was a good opportunity to kind of figure out where we wanted to land with this levy. I think we didn't get everything we wanted, but I think also it's a good forward-looking levy plan for the future of fixing our streets, because if you drive up and down our streets, you'll need new struts, right, Ron?
That's right.
We've got several of things that we've been kicking down the road for quite a while, and I think this is the start of trying to get things back on path to where where we can start taking care of things again. It's been a long road, and I guess thanks for the opportunity to kind of lead the meetings, but let everybody else speak.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and get a motion on the table, Dan, and then if there's further comments, we can certainly listen to them.
Sure. So item C is consideration to a resolution establishing the preliminary budget and tax levy collected in 2024 and designating December 12th, 2023 at 6:01 p.m. as the date for public comment on the budget and proposed levy. Finance Committee reviewed this at nauseam throughout the month of August and spilled into this afternoon, and recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to establish the preliminary budget and tax levy collected in 2024, and will designate our next council meeting on December 12th at 6:01 p.m. as the date for public comment on the budget and proposed levy. Is there further comments or discussion by the council? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion carries. Aaron, let's go to 9K.
9K is Becky Mitchell from the museum. She's going to tell you about, we got some famous artists here in town, and she's got some good ideas for the kids here in town. So Becky, go ahead. And
if only I could bring Leonardo back from the 1400s.
it's his artwork, right?
Yeah, well, a little bit of everything, actually. So I was here a few months ago seeking some support to bring in the Da Vinci exhibition, and you so graciously approved a $5,000 sponsorship with that. And at that point, I was invited to come back at the end of summer to discuss some options of potentially helping get all of the school kids in from Detroit Lakes. So the Da Vinci exhibit did arrive in town yesterday. The semis are all unloaded, and currently everything is being set up within the museum. It does have over 20 pieces of reproductive art. We are not getting the Mona Lisa. I want to be clear about that. Doesn't leave the Louvre very often, but 20 reproductions, including a full-size Last Supper, which, side note, that's 15 feet tall by 30 feet wide, so it's quite massive. Along with over 65 machines that were built based on his drawings. So many of us do know Leonardo from his art, but what many of people don't know is the science side. He really was the original kind of STEAM teacher back in the STEAM explorer maybe is a better word to put it, back in the 1400s. He had sketchbook after sketchbook of just visions of hydraulics and submarines and weapons of war and different types of instruments, and so he was probably not very accepted in his time. And he did some kind of questionable practices, like performing autopsies back in the day to kind of study the human body and how muscles were formed and worked, which then translated into his art. So that exhibit is here. If you recall, we had about $100,000 budget for that. By the time we got the exhibit, the insurance policy, marketing, and just the incidentals that go along, our budget landed around 105. And I was seeking about half of that in sponsorships, which I did achieve. So what we're back to talk about tonight is the school kids. Throughout, I've been pretty persistent with our board, and they are in agreement to keep student admissions at $5 a piece, which is what we currently charge to come to the museum. I felt like we could make up the other $50 in general admission prices. But the consideration was, how can we really make sure that the DL school kids can get in? So I did call yesterday, and in DL City schools, as of yesterday, school attendance is a bit of a moving target, or enrollment I should say, but there's 2,736 students in DL schools. If you add in Holy Rosary and Faith Christian, then that brings that total to 2,941 students. So taking that times 5, I didn't think that was probably a reasonable amount to ask, because that would be $14,705. But I just presented the liquor fund with some options. So to fund $2 off that $5 ticket would be $5,882, and $3 off that $5 ticket would be $8,828. There is, I will tell you, going to be also some consideration by the county later this month to discuss the rest of the schools within the county, like Park Audubon, Frazee. They may recommend to go back to those councils. I don't know, but I do know we are going to have a discussion about it later this month.
Okay, Aaron?
Yeah, so the liquor committee agreed unanimously. We're giving them, we originally pledged $5,000, and we agreed to kick in another $5,000.
Okay, you want to make a motion?
Can we make a motion?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yep, let's make a motion.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to,
I'd like to, could I amend it? The ultimate discussion was to cover $2 per student for a total of $5,882.
okay. Ready, you just want to change your motion to that? Is that?
Yeah, change the motion.
Okay. All right, is that all right with you, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Seconds, man, yeah.
So the motion's been made and seconded to increase it by 5,800 and whatever, 82. Discussion? Sean?
You've included public schools and the 2 Christian schools. What about homeschools? Will you extend that to homeschoolers as well?
Yeah, I think if they live within DL city limits, we will extend it, and we'll address the county homeschool kids in that capacity as well.
Perfect. Okay, any further questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Before we get into the capital improvement plan, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the council or have an agenda item moved? Hearing none, let's adjourn the regular meeting, and I'll call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed 5-year capital improvement plan. And am I calling on the city engineer?
You are.
John Pratt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, we're going to do probably a fairly brief overview of the capital improvement plan. This should be nothing new to any of the council members. I think we've looked at it in a number of different cases, but I wanted to take an opportunity to present an abbreviated version to the public. So a little background, our capital improvement plan is a sort of a living document. I would say we take a pretty good swing at this every couple of years or so in terms of updating it. It is just a roadmap. It is by no means a commitment from the council or future councils to stick to this and do the projects that are contained with it. It's simply a tool for budgeting, helping setting utility rates, planning. It's also pretty useful for communicating to property owners that are wondering, when's my street going to get done? When's this project coming up? So it's sort of the first shot. It's very, very planning level in nature, where we don't get down in the weeds so much. So I'd point out over the last 5 years, we've accomplished about $43 million in capital improvement projects. This is just streets and utilities. We did another almost $3 million in parking lots and trail improvements. So we've certainly gotten a fair amount done in the last 5 years. As far as the current plan that's in draft form that you'd be considering adopting tonight, this would extend basically from this year, 2023, into 2028 with a couple projects that are kind of in the to be determined column. But just to highlight those, for this year, we've got the Campbell Avenue and Linden Lane project, which is well underway at a cost of about $4 million. Terry Street, Danders subdivision, that project's about $700,000 and again, well underway. There are a few projects that we had planned to do this year, which included Southwood Shore Estates, Willow Springs, and a street rehabilitation project, and those were planned for this year. You all know we took bids, they were high, we rejected them, and we're going to repackage that this winter, so those will effectively become 24 projects. And then finally, for this year, we had the Summit Avenue street utility reconstruction, which is well underway. So looking forward for the next couple of years, I mentioned the 3 projects that we're going to slide. In addition to those, we've got, we're kind of dubbing the West Downtown Street Utility Reconstruction Project. Council's authorized the preliminary design of that, so we are working towards that. That'll involve some street segments lying west of Washington Avenue in the downtown area, Frazee Street, Front Street, Home Street, Lake Avenue, portions of those roadways, including an alley. So that'll be a big project downtown next year. Also be starting, we're in the stages of the final design. Public Utilities Commission authorized final design for the new 1.5 million gallon water tower project. So I would expect that we will probably bid that sometime next spring to get some work going on that. That'll be a project that'll probably spill well into 2025. We've also got sort of a placeholder for Southwood Shore Estates project. Some of these are, you'll know that there may not be a formal request in front of us right now from developers and things like that, but for budgeting reasons, we try to at least take a swing of where we think the next phase of the subdivision might, when it might take place, and it doesn't upset the budget cart quite as badly when we do that. So we've got a placeholder for phase 2 of Southwood Shore Estates for next year, about $1.3 million. Again, I would say that's very tentative. And then we also have another street rehabilitation project. You mentioned that there's some additional funds allocated in the budget to do some additional street maintenance. So that is another couple million or $2 or $3 million project that we'd be looking at doing next year. Moving on to 25, we've got a mill and overlay on 290th Avenue. That'll be a cooperative project of the township, but we do have a portion of that road that's under our jurisdiction, so about $171,000 on that. Again, another placeholder for a subdivision called Antler Ridge. We've had some discussion with the developer on that. So we've placed that out in 2025 at the tune of about $2.2 million. And then finally in 25, we have phase 3 of Westlake Drive, which would be the beach project. And that's right now estimated at about almost $9 million. Moving to 26, we've got Forest Street, Ridgeview subdivision phase 2, and then 2 streets up in the northern portion of town where we've taken, I guess, somewhat of an initiative, I would say, that we're a little overdue on some of the neighborhoods lying on the north side, and so we're going to start picking off some of those streets and utilities over coming years. And so we'll be doing Central Street and Davis Avenue. And that's going to be about a $3.5 million investment up in that area. Moving to 27, again, another placeholder project for a street rehabilitation project, so more mill and overlay, full depth reclamation, a placeholder of about $3 million for that. And then again, continuing that north side neighborhood street and utility reconstruction projects for Main Street, Union, and Bowling Avenue. And moving on to 28, we have the Long Lake annexation, and those just have been placed out there as placeholders right now. There's still discussion of whether or not we would extend sewer and water around the west side of Long Lake. If that were to happen, there's about $9 million worth of investment that would have to take place for that. And a couple of to be determined would be another water tower on the south side of the lake, a 300,000 gallon water tower. The date on that one's a little loose yet, but we wanted to at least get it in here. And sort of coupled with that would be the demolition of the existing standpipe project. So that's all the street utilities. There are a number of parking lot and trail projects that we're also looking at over the course of the next 5 years. We have a trail extending from Washington Avenue to Oak Grove. That's sort of extending the existing Frazee Street Trail and trying to get that connected to the Home Street Trail that goes out to the West Retail District. The trail along Long Lake Park. Moving into 25, we would have the trail along Westlake Drive with that third phase of Westlake Drive along the beach, and also the mall parking lot reconstruction in 25. 26, we have a multi-use trail from Oak Grove to CP, closing that final gap of that trail. The arena parking lot, and in 27, we have the multi-use trail from Highway 59 to Richwood Road, and then a to be determined one that we're just starting to eye up is a spur trail from the Heartland Trail up to DMRA. Then finally, there's a couple of projects that would be funded through the Development Authority. There are a couple of industrial park improvement projects that we've laid out there. Very tentative at this point in terms of dates, no years tied to them. But if both of those projects went, it would be about a $6.5 million improvement. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions for John or wishes to make a comment about the 5-year capital improvement plan? If not, that public hearing is closed and I would entertain a motion. Ron?
I'd make a motion to item 81, consideration to a resolution approving the 5-year capital improvement plan. The committee recommends and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution approving the 5-year capital improvement plan. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then we go ahead with
Okay, the next item was A2, this is consideration to approving the amended special assessment policy, and this now will include the alleyways and so forth on, and the committee recommends and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the amended special assessment policy. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Let's move, then if nobody else has any agenda items to move on the agenda, let's just move right into the Community Development Committee. Chairman Boki.
Your Honor, item 5A has been tabled, and that concludes the CDC agenda.
Okay.
That was easy.
Yeah. We should know that way.
So we'll move into the Public Works Committee. Chairman Zeman.
Okay, we had a number of discussion items, and the first item is item A, discussion regarding South Shore Drive. I'm just going to have John just give us a little recap on what we kind of discussed a little bit. We came up with one item that we could certainly do immediately, but you want to kind of go a little bit?
Sure, Mayor and Council, I think you maybe all have received the memo that was prepared. We kind of threw everything in the kitchen sink into a pot in terms of ideas, suggestions, things that we've heard from residents over the course of the last several months or even the last couple of years regarding South Shore Drive. And it ranges from things like, to trying to enforce speed, trying to reduce speed, other ways to maybe enhance pedestrian safety or accommodate pedestrian and bikes and things like that around South Shore Drive. I won't go through it in great detail, but one of the items that did sort of float to the surface that I think we can take an immediate crack at is the city does have 2 portable radar signs. Those have proven to be fairly effective in terms of trying to help with speed compliance. And the other advantage is those signs actually collect data that we can download from and try to get a handle on how much of a problem, if there is a problem in terms of speed and what the compliance rate is. So that seemed like a logical first step, and I think that's what the committee was going to recommend as an initial step.
Do we need to formalize that with a motion?
Yes, we'll make a motion on it. Thanks, John. And with that, because one of the big items was to try to slow down some traffic, so as John said, we're going to go ahead and put up these portable speed signs, and they also give out other information for us, so the committee recommends that we go ahead and put up those portable speed signs. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to put out the portable speed signs. They're the flashing light signs, and it tells you what speed you're going. So we're going to deploy those on South Shore Drive and then also collect the data that they can collect. So with that, is there any questions or any discussion on the motion?
Those are signs we already own, correct?
We don't.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
The next item is B, is a discussion regarding the four-way stop at Summit Avenue and Holmes. It's right up by the funeral home, and John, he went back and did a study, and there's enough, there has been enough accidents to meet the need for a four-way stop, and he's recommending that we would put in a four-way stop there, and the committee agreed with him, and I still move that we go ahead with a four-way stop at that location for a four-way stop at Summit and Holmes.
Second move.
Motion's been made and seconded to install a four-way stop sign at Summit Avenue and Holmes Street. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is C. This is a discussion regarding the intersection at Village Lane and Brainerd Boulevard. There's getting to be a lot of homes out there. It's getting filled in. It used to be empty here a couple years ago, but it's being filled in, and there's no sidewalks, so there's a lot of kids, they have to ride their bike and walk in the streets. And right now, they've been using yield signs, and we're, as a committee, go ahead and recommend that we change those yield signs to stop signs, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to change the yield signs out on Village Lane and Brainerd Boulevard to stop signs. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D was pulled, and then the next item, E, consideration accepting the city engineer's monthly project status report, how we're doing going into the fall season. John?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Not an awful lot really to report. We do have some active construction going on yet, most notably the Campbell Avenue and Linden Lane project. That's probably approaching somewhere in the 60–70% category. The underground utilities are done, and it sounds like they'll be starting on curb and gutter here as soon as Monday. So they're well underway with grading and getting the street reconstruction moving. Summit Avenue is probably in a similar state. They should be done with underground utilities by early next week. So I would expect grading to start later next week on that, and maybe curb and gutter a couple weeks out yet, but certainly still in pretty good shape. Terry Street and Dandrew, really no movement on that in the last month. The underground utilities are done, and just waiting for the contractor to return and start to do the grading in the Dandrew subdivision. I think sometime in the next couple of weeks that'll happen. The next three projects, again, have been tabled due to high bids, and we'll repackage those this winter. And then you'll notice, I just mentioned this in my CIP report, West Downtown Street Utility Reconstruction. We're going on that, some of the preliminary work there. We expect to bring a preliminary report back in the next month or two. And then we'll follow that with a public hearing sometime later this fall. And also, we are starting to do some work on the final design for the water tower. So,
Any questions for John on projects? I think we do need a motion.
We'll make a motion that we accept this month's project status report from John, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the city engineer's monthly project status report. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, I've got one other item we should have pulled, but I didn't, but I'm going to have Kelsey explain a little bit about item 6F. It's a request from the Pelican River Water District, and we would just want to explain that over to Kelsey.
Sure. Mayor and Council, so 6F is an annual request from the Pelican River Watershed District for chemical treatments that they do on Detroit Lake for flowering rush and curly leaf pondweed. We actually use our food and beverage tax money to help pay for this. One of the things they did note, we saw quite a bit of weed growth from kind of like Jane Cape down through the Swimming Beach area later this summer. That is curly pondweed, and they are going to spray for that next spring to try to head that off for next year, so hopefully that helps.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Ron?
That'll be all, Your Honor.
I think think we still have something on the Finance Committee.
Yep, I've got two more here. Item D is consideration to resolution granting the city consent for the taxes payable in 2024 for the HRA levy. I'll take a stab at that, and if I screwed up, then Heidi can correct me. But we need to give authorization to the HRA to collect a levy for their low-income home improvement program, which is $120,000 per year. It's a program to use money to allow people to do fix-up to their homes. So it's, then they repay that loan after they either convey the property, sell the property, or whatever else happens to it. Finance Committee reviewed this, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution granting city council consent for taxes payable 2024 for the HRA levy. Discussion?
Well, I just want to mention that Kelsey was at the Housing Authority meeting here on Monday, and we basically spent the first year's money. Now, all of a sudden, people have found out we have that fund for rehab, and it's working out great. But Kelsey also came, and you want to tell a bit about the down payments?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, so the city is participating, actually more specifically the Development Authority has participated in a down payment assistance program in the past. It's currently administered through NMCDC. So one of the things we talked about with the HRA and potentially with the levy, if there is, for some reason, there isn't the demand for the TLC program, the rehab program, there is a possibility we can look at increasing the funding for that down payment assistance program, which, again, there's some income requirements, some requirements that the home buyer would have to meet, but this is basically just to help support improve affordability for people trying to buy a house in Detroit Lakes. So.
Okay,
Thanks, Kelsey.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, go ahead, man.
This is the second year of this, correct? Because, okay, but...
We'll go forward with the third one. This will be for the third year.
Okay, but didn't HRA present to the board, or to the Finance Budget Committee saying they weren't going to go forward with this for a third year?
Well, we didn't ask because we weren't using it, but we've got a new director now. This thing's taken off, and like I said, we've spent the first year and they're working on the second year, so the money's going to be gone. So it is being used.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we vote?
Not yet.
That was like a half a minute ago. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Motion carries.
Item E, it's about the Fire Department Relief Association. I'll just turn this over to Kelsey because I'm not going to try to attempt the conversation that we had at Finance Committee.
Mayor and Council, I'll do my best to summarize. So occasionally, the Relief Association approaches the City Council for approval for an increase in their pension credit. Basically, every year they do an evaluation of where their assets sit, basically their investments, compared to their liabilities. Of course, their liabilities are based on the number of firefighters, the number of years of service that they currently have, and determine if there is room to increase that benefit level. We use a number of 110% of fully funded as kind of our benchmark. Currently, they're well over that. That means they're in the 123% range. So the Relief Association made a motion to recommend to the City Council to increase that benefit level from $10,300 per year to $11,300 per year. And even with that increase in benefit level, they're still projected to still be well over that 110% funding level for next year.
Okay. So item E is consideration to a resolution amending the bylaws of the Detroit Lakes Fire Department Relief Association to provide for an additional $1,000 per year for a lump sum pension of $11,300 for each year effective April 1, 2024. Finance Committee reviewed this, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded to amend the bylaws of the Fire Department Relief Association, providing $11,300 for each year of service, and that would go into effect on April 1st, 2024. Discussion?
Well, I'm just going to say it's another tool for the fire department to get more volunteers to come in, and after 20 years, they'd have $226,000 in their relief package. So it is a good fund, and it does help keep people there for the long range of trying to get them to 20 years.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. And that concludes the finance stand, correct?
Correct.
Okay, let's move to the public safety. Ron, you're going to take that.
Okay, right. This discussion regarding the school resource officer contract, as you know, with the recommendation from the chief of police, Detroit Lakes, we've agreed to support the school resource officer program for this year. We're going to wait and see what happens with legislation for the year 2024, see about going forward, but hopefully they'll get together and change their minds. But right now, we will recommend that we keep our resource officer over at the schools, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to retain the school resource officer contract with the Detroit Lakes Public Schools. Chief, is there anything you want to add to
How much
this?
time do you have?
Well, I don't want to get too crazy here.
Well, you're fine where you're at then, sir.
Okay, all right. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And that's it for public safety, right?
Yes.
We'll go to the liquor gambling control, Aaron.
Okay, 9A, consideration and second reading and adoption of ordinance 516, amending city code section 702 liquor and wine licensing. Kelsey, you can go ahead and let everybody know what this is all about.
Mayor and council, the first ordinance amendment is to add two kinds of licenses to our ordinance, so we can, council would have the discretion to issue these in the future. One's related to kind of an annual license for a convention center, and the other one is for basically summer collegiate league baseball, or basically summer baseball type of association league permit. That's the first ordinance. And Mayor, if I can, I'll just jump on the second one too. The second ordinance is cleaning up our ordinance that relates to consumption and possession of liquor and beer within city limits. Clarify some of the terms for what you can possess and where you can possess, where you can consume, and then also where open bottle is allowed.
So I still move, we unanimously agreed on 9A, so we got to vote on that one, and then we'll go to 9B.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 516, amending city code section 702. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And
9B, consideration and second reading adoption of ordinance 517, amending city code section 704, consumption and possession of liquor and beer. The liquor store committee all unanimously agreed. I still move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give second reading and adopt ordinance 517, amending city code section 704. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
9C, consideration and approving a quote for cameras for the liquor store. Kelsey?
Mayor and council, this was actually in the budget for liquor store last year, but we did not do the project, so it's, the proposal was just under $50,000 to do the project this year.
The liquor committee unanimously agreed on this, so I still move.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a quote for cameras for the liquor store. Discussion?
That was for 50,000?
Yes.
It's just under it.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And I have one left here, which is 9K. This is a special event liquor application for Lake Shirts. Looks like tomorrow at 5 o'clock at the Holmes Theater. The liquor store unanimously agreed. I still move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a special event liquor application to be held by Lake Shirts at the Holmes Theater. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Mike, was there anything from the public
Nothing, Your Honor.
utilities? Okay. Anything from city administration, Kelsey?
Mayor and council, nothing added. Do want to invite you, we'll send an email to the council on October 4th. We're having our employee appreciation luncheon over at the museum. We're going to couple it with a tour of the museum, so we'll send you an email.
That's at 12 noon?
We have two chefs, so
Okay.
we'll send you details.
Okay, I don't have an appointment this evening for the Minnesota Flyers Board. If any of you have a name for me, I would certainly appreciate the help. I would like to make an appointment to the Airport Commission. I'd like to recommend the name of Ross Ganitsky to be appointed, and he's filling the term of Howard Hansen, who's retiring. So I would like to have a motion to approve Ross.
Second motion to approve Ross Knitsky.
Motion been made and seconded to approve Ross Ganitsky to the Airport Commission. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I would like to reappoint Mark Hagan for another term on the Airport Commission, and I would entertain a motion for his approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Mark Hagan to another term on the Airport Commission. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And I would like to reappoint Julie Berg to another term on the Police Civil Service Commission. And I would entertain a motion for her approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reappoint Julie Berg to the Police Civil Service Commission. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And also, Ron informed me that Mary Haney, who's on our HRA board, has moved out of the city. And so at this point, I would like to recommend the name of Amy Erickson to be appointed to the HRA board to fill Mary Haney's unexpired term. I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Amy Erickson to the HRA board. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. A couple of announcements. The Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Fall Conference is November 16th and 17th in Wilmer. Please let Carrie know if you would like to attend. The last 2023 joint governance meeting is on October 3rd, and it'll be hosted by Becker County. And then the balance of the city council dates for 2023 are listed. And that concludes the agenda this evening. Is there anything else you have, Aaron?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah, Matt?
Just a big thank you to Sean King, Public Works, as well as Parks Department. I think parks have looked great this year, so thanks for taking care of that. Also, there's a little-known bridge just to the east of Lake Shirts that over Labor Day weekend, somebody decided to take 3 or 4 planks and throw it in the Pelican River there. So thank you to Sean for taking care of that right away.
Okay. Thanks, Sean. Ron?
None, Your Honor.
Okay. Jackie? Mike?
Nothing.
Sean? Jay? The business of this council has come to a conclusion and the meeting's adjourned.